The NHL schedule has been released. What Maple Leafs dates do we have circled? Let's discuss on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Now that the NHL schedule has been released, Dave, I'd imagine that Gametime will make pretty quick work and get those tickets up and available for the public pretty soon. You can go and you can save a little bit of money. Again, use the code LOCKEDONNHL, $20 off your first purchase. Schedule is always fun. It's always fun to kind of go through and find out, all right, what dates are we excited about? When's Mitch Marner coming to town, right? What specialty days, what special games are we excited to see? When does the season end? How many double-header or back-to-backs does this team have? What's the longest homestand, road stand? All those statistics, it always gets broken down, and that's what we're about to do here on today's show. We're also going to have a chat about Matthew Knies, who was recently ranked in NHL.com's top 10 under 25 list. It's a forward ranking. Matthew Knies will tell you where the NHL ranks him in terms of top forwards under 25. So we'll get to that as well. But the schedule release is always fun, Dave. It's always fun. We know exactly now when the season's going to open for the Maple Leafs, when it's going to close, and all the shenaniganery that's going to happen in between. I guess there's no date that anyone looked for quicker when the schedule got dropped at noon Eastern time today than when the Vegas Golden Knights come to Toronto. Am I right, or is that the first thing that you did as well? Because I know I did.
It was even before, like as soon as the schedule got released, I got a couple messages saying, "All right, January it is, right? January 15th."
Yeah. January 15th, the Mitch Marner return game for the Maple Leafs. And that was kind of the date that everybody was January 23rd is when he comes to Scotiabank. January 23rd
is the first game against Marner. 23rd is the home game.
Right. So on January 15th, the Leafs go to Vegas, and then a week later they travel and play at Scotiabank Arena. So you can get those tickets locally, go out there and boo your head off, boo your face off if you want. Every time Mitch Marner in a number 93 Golden Knights uniform touches the puck. I fully expect it. I'll be honest. I fully expect the Boo Birds to come out and be hollering pretty darn loudly from start to finish. Just seems like, the exit was a little messy. It seemed as though he'd been thinking about leaving for quite some time. And I don't know, the way that he opened up about how long he had been thinking about Vegas certainly rubbed a lot of Leafs Nation the wrong way. So I would think that the Boo Birds will be pretty loud on January 23rd down at Scotiabank Arena.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I think, and I get it. And I'm curious to see what the Leafs will do for that return, because they've been off and on with a lot of that stuff.
Well, what do you expect them to do? For me, video tribute, absolutely. But other than that, what else are you really going to do?
Well, it's it. But there's times where they don't even do a tribute video. Sometimes they'll just put a picture on the board saying thank you. Remember Phil Kessel? I don't think Phil Kessel got a tribute when he came back to Toronto.
That's ridiculous. That's crazy.
Time too. Lou Lamoriello's.
I think he'll get a tribute. I mean, he was here for a very long time. He's a very good player for the Maple Leafs, and he's top 5 in a lot of statistical categories. When it look at the franchise record book, so I fully expect a tribute. But anything more than that would be ridiculous. We've had this discussion before. You don't think 16 goes up in the rafters at all, do you?
No. I'm sorry.
No.
I understand he put up the points, but what else was there?
Well, there's got to be longevity and there's got to be some success that
Yeah.
is accompanied with it, right? Like at least Matthews, if he ends up playing out the rest of his career, like there'll be a lot of individual success, but there also will be like some trophies to go along with it,
Yeah.
right? Like he's won a few Rocket Richards. He won the Hart Trophy. He won the what's it called the players. It used to be the Lester B. Pearson. Now that it's called the I'm blanking. The one that's voted upon by the players, for basically best player in the world, voted on by his peers. Like he won that the year he scored 60.
The Ted Lindsay.
The Ted Lindsay, thank you. Won the Ted Lindsay that year as well, a couple seasons ago. So there's at least a little bit of hardware that came along with Austin Matthews. He's the captain now. He's going to lead the team in goals. He already leads in 5-on-5 goals, if I'm not mistaken. Power play goals, he'll be up there. So that is definitely a number he's chasing down. I think he's only behind Sundin now for the goal, which he'll do next season pretty soon. So it's going to happen for him, I believe, at some point. Don't see 16 going up in the rafters, though. That's not going to happen. I think the Marner era is over. I don't see him coming back at any point as a Maple Leaf. But he'll return in a Golden Knights uniform again. January 23rd is that date, and it's probably going to be the most highly anticipated game of the season for the Maple Leafs. So you got the home opener, which is going to be on October 8th. That's going to be the second night of the NHL season, which I went on a pretty big diatribe on the show yesterday about the way that the NHL is launching their season with Chicago, Florida, followed by Pittsburgh and the Rangers, and then the nightcap of Colorado and LA. Just thought that it was a very bizarre trio of games to pick for opening night. I felt that the Maple Leafs, like Leafs and Habs, should be that 8:00 game. Like that's what should be, to kind of kick off things. I know they're not American teams, but they still draw eyeballs to the networks. Like ESPN, your hockey fans are still going to tune in to that game. I don't know. It's the following night on October 8th, and that'll be the marquee game, I'm sure, on the schedule. But the fact that it's not opening night still kind of grinds my gears. What about you?
It does as well. Like, it's just almost like the NHL figures these American markets get priority, and then the Canadian teams, yeah, we'll get you. Don't you worry. And it's like you're talking about Leafs Habs, the most historic rivalry in the NHL. No other rivalry comes close. Longevity, history, and its tradition. Like even though I get it, it's not an American. They're not American markets. The draw is there. Heated rivals on opening night. Like, come on. Like, what are we talking about? Like, it just brings back all like the issues I've had with the way they've done a lot of these scheduled things, whether it's the opening night games, the Winter Classics. How many people say, why is Chicago? Why Pitt? Like, why certain teams get thrown in round and round again when their teams stink? Like, Chicago is terrible. I understand the market is I know the market draws in fans, and I understand that's probably part of it is the reason.
But Bedard also a bit of a reason. They're still trying to bill him as, the second coming.
Yeah.
But like he might not be that. I don't know. It's too early to tell. I'm not ready to call him a bust, but the generational term was being thrown out there, and through 2 years, I haven't seen anything that sticks out that would call him generational. We'll take a look at the top 25 or top 10 under 25 forward list in a little bit. Matthew Knies was ranked on there. So was Bedard, but his ranking was a little bit of an eye-opening for maybe what people think of Connor Bedard moving forward. Again, we'll get to that in just a little bit. Let's continue to kind of break down the schedule, though. We'll find out a couple more big games. The Leafs, nice little double header on Canadian Thanksgiving. That'll be a big game on October 13th. We'll tell you who they'll be playing for that one, and all the other stats, how many back-to-backs, longest homestand, all that and more coming up on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Price actually drop as the closer it gets to showtime, and you could save up to 60% off with killer last-minute deals. Tired of endless scrolling, trying to find the best deal? Gametime's zone deals pick the best seats in your section for you. If you ever wonder what your seat's going to look like before you buy, the app shows you a panoramic seat view, so there's no surprises. And with Gametime, the price you see is the price you pay. No hidden fees. Take the guesswork out of buying concert or sporting event tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, David Morassutti with you on a beautiful Thursday morning, and the schedule was released on yesterday. The season will open up on October 8th. That's a Wednesday. It's the second day of the NHL season, and for a third year in a row, it'll be against the Montreal Canadiens. And it's funny, no matter how good or how bad each of these two teams are on opening night, it seems to be quite the barn burner and quite the close encounter between these two squads. So I'm sure it'll be another really entertaining game. Hopefully the Maple Leafs can come out on top in this one. What other dates do you kind of have penciled in and circled on the Leafs calendar this upcoming season, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, you always look at the all the division, all the games within the division, how they end the season too. Like, it's a little different this year. You got like Washington, the Islanders, Florida, Dallas, Ottawa. That's an interesting end to the season, and the trip out in California, end of the season, which is very rare. It's usually maybe early March. We've seen it, in January, end of the season. That's an interesting.
Could be taxing. Could be a little taxing. Yeah,
it's a tough end to the season. Like if you look at their last, like from the end of March to April,
a lot of road games. Well, even look at from like January 29th, right? So basically from like the end of February, they have only a handful of home games. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 home games. And they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 road games. So, you're looking at the final 29 games of the season. 19 of them are on the road, just 10 of them going to be on home ice. So it's going to be a difficult stretch. You noted it. You've got the West Coast trip out to you're making the trip out to Western Canada. You got Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton at the end of January, early February. And then you go from Edmonton down to Tampa for the Florida series. You got Tampa and Florida. You can't get much more difficult than that when you're talking about travel. And you've got
that's after the All-Star break or the Olympic.
Oh, you're correct. That's my bad. I knew that too. I was just looking at the dates to see if there was a back-to-back involved there, and there is. Calgary Edmonton is a back-to-back, and then I had just seen February 3rd they're in Edmonton, and then they're in Tampa for the very next game. But it's not until February 25th. So that is split. So my bad. That is split.
Which is funny because there's 2 times the season coming up that they're going to have road trips of 6 games.
Yeah.
But technically, the second one, there's the break in between. So it's almost like a 4-game road trip, break, 2-game road trip.
Yeah.
But the one in November, you got 6 games in a row, but they're all kind of within, like, it's not a terrible travel schedule, but
yeah. Either way, I mean, just to go back to the original point, lots of road games in the back half of the season. a lot of road games.
Yeah,
So
it's weird.
it's going to be a lot of travel for them. So a bit more of a difficult start to the schedule or end to the schedule. So you'd hope that at the start, the Leafs can kind of come out flying and try and bank as many points as possible. And yeah, there's some winnable games early on, like Montreal, Detroit, Nashville, the Rangers, Seattle. You got Buffalo in October twice, a little back to back home and home against Buffalo on October 24th and 25th. You got Columbus, you got Philly. Like there's some winnable games here early on the season. Pittsburgh, Utah. All right. So they could end up with a pretty good record through the first 10 games. And I think they need to be honest, when you look at kind of the gauntlet that they've got in the back half, it's going to be difficult to ramp it up at the end of the season there. So yeah, I think the first kind of month or two of this season where they've got a lot of home dates, they got to bank some wins, bank some points. That's going to be big to start the season on the right path for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, I mean that's the big part of it is they didn't get off to a terrible start last year, but they've proven at times where getting off to slow starts has kind of been their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if the goal scoring wasn't there. That's
yeah.
So like the NHL did give them, I will say, yeah, they did give them a break. Looking like even the schedule, like the toughest month, if I just out of like just what I'm seeing, December looks like a pretty like maybe like end of November.
January has the most amount of games. You got 16 games in the month of January. So in terms of being the busiest month, I guess that would be it. But there's only one back-to-back, but you're pretty well playing every single night. But there is that one back-to-back on January 12th and 13th in Colorado, then in Utah. But then it's literally just like every other night they're playing a game. So January right now is considered the busiest month on the schedule. Busiest road month, I guess. March, they got 9 games on the road. We already noted how that back half is going to be a little difficult. Yeah, so that's where it's at. The longest homestand, they have 3 5-game homestands at the very least. So when they are home, they're going to be home for quite some time. So it's not like it's scattered. I don't know if that's good or bad, but they have 3 different 5-game homestands throughout the season. And funny enough, so they've got 23 Hockey Night in Canada games on Saturdays. Surprised to see that a majority of them are on the road. You would think that the league would try and get as many Toronto home games on Saturdays as possible, but 13 on the road, just 10 at home in those 23 games.
Yeah, I probably should have did a deeper dive just to see how many of those are against Canadian teams. They got Montreal in there. I'm just trying to see if there are any in odd. Like I think there's that's always in Vancouver.
Yeah,
there's one in Ottawa. So like I get. Yeah, I would love to see more of those in Toronto, but I guess because they figured it's still going to be within a Canadian city, that it still will. I mean, it will draw regardless. But yeah, it is kind of interesting. I always kind of felt at times that there was a bit of an imbalance there with them not playing as many of those Saturday night games at home. I should have looked to see if it was any different from last year because. And also, like, are there times where they're not even playing on a Saturday? Because that's something I think like there's one time in January.
There'd be a couple days where they're not playing on the Saturday. Usually there's a few. It's not every Saturday. Like when they play Mitch Marner, they play him on a Friday. They're off the next night. So that Saturday, the Maple Leafs aren't playing. Like I know that's one Saturday date that they do not have. But there's going to be a couple, as per usual, a couple times throughout the season where they'll get the Saturday off.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of just the way the travel arena availabilities work too.
Mm-hmm.
It's what happens when you have a shared stadium, right? Especially with an NBA team.
Yeah. Really quickly, a couple other key dates. We mentioned that there's going to be a prime Monday night hockey doubleheader, which will kick off with the Maple Leafs taking on the Detroit Red Wings. That will be in Toronto. That'll be on Canadian Thanksgiving. So while you're digging into your turkey and mashed potatoes, you can watch the Maple Leafs take on the Red Wings, and then Canucks and Blues as the nighttime game for some primetime Canadian Thanksgiving hockey. And then the Hall of Fame game for the Maple Leafs will be held on November 8th, which is interesting because it's going to be on a Saturday this year. Typically, isn't that game on a Friday? It's on Saturday, November 8th, and it's against the Boston Bruins.
And it's usually against Boston. I was looking for that game because it's like, the Foster Hewitt Cup or whatever. It's usually I don't think I've ever seen it on a Saturday. So that's kind of interesting that it worked out that way.
Yeah. So kind of interesting, but that's it. November 8th on against Boston and the Maple Leafs. So those are kind of the big dates, I guess. Again, Vegas and Toronto, Marner's return on January 23rd, and then they'll wrap up the season on April 15th against the Ottawa Senators.
I do have one scheduled flight before we move on.
Go ahead.
That game against Colorado that you brought up, it's on a Sunday at 2:00. Sunday, January 25th at 2:00. Isn't that roughly when NFL playoffs are usually?
That could be Pro Bowl weekend. That could be like the week in between.
I'm just looking.
It could be the week in between the conference championships and the Super Bowl.
Oh no, it's the NFL. It's going to be the conference championship weekend.
Is it conference championship weekend?
Yeah,
that's kind of but those will be primetime games. That's why it's a 2:00 start because that game probably won't start till 6 o'clock.
That's why I brought it up. I'm like,
yeah. So that'd be a nice.
The NHL actually get ahead of themselves this time.
Yeah. Leafs Avs 2 p.m. on a Sunday, and then you'll kind of settle in and watch conference championship Sunday. That'll be a fun little day. I think I'll definitely be making an indent in the couch on that day. Good for you to bring that one up. All right, on the other side, let's get to this top 25 or top 10 under 25 list. Matthew Knies made an appearance. We'll tell you where he ranked and where everyone else ranked. We'll unveil the list next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast.
Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. I'm somebody that's all about ease and convenience. I like the fact that everything is just made. It's all managed in one app, so I can just look at it day to day, see where I'm spending my money, how many subscriptions am I on, how much am I spending on takeout or anything like that. And it also helps you reach your financial goals a lot smoother. And if you're managing an account with somebody, it makes it a lot easier to look at personal, shared accounts, all that stuff. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti with you here. One more quick update on the calendar. So you will have all 32 teams playing twice this year. 2 times you will see all 32. What they call it? The Frozen Frenzy? Is that what ESPN called it? The Frozen Frenzy last year.
Yeah.
So those 2 dates will be October 11th. All 32 teams are going to be playing. And then also on October 28th, all 32 teams will be in action on those nights. So keep that in mind. And the NHL trade deadline is March 6th. So March 6th will be the NHL trade deadline. So those are the final kind of notes on the NHL season for this upcoming year. And going into it, the NHL.com crew did a list, and there's nothing better in the offseason than reacting and making lists, Dave. That's pure off-season content I want directly into my veins. And they did a top 10 forwards under 25 list that they released a couple of days ago. They did defensemen and goaltending as well. Matthew Knies, the only player to show up on either of those lists for obvious reasons. So why don't we just go ahead and do you have the list? You got the graphic of the list here that we can show people. So Matthew Knies ended up getting placed on this list. I think actually he may have his computer kind of crapped out on him for half a second. That's okay. I've got the list here as well, so I can pull it up. So Matthew Knies ranked 8th on the list of top 20, top 10 under 25. Let me just pull up the list right now. I can share the screen for all those who are watching on YouTube. And here it is. Okay, top 10 forwards under age 25 by NHL.com. So see Matthew Knies ranked there at number 8. I'll tell you the list as follows. Number 1, Tim Stützle came in at number 1 for the Ottawa Senators. Jack Hughes came in at number 2 for the New Jersey Devils. Matt Boldy at number 3. Wyatt Johnston at number 4. Cole Caulfield at number 5. You have to get all the way to number 6 until Connor Bedard shows his face on this list, which was kind of surprising for me to see. And even more surprising, under Connor Bedard was Macklin Celebrini, who had an unbelievable season last year for the San Jose Sharks. He comes in as the 7th top forward under 25. Bit of a surprising list there. And then Knies comes in at 8, Seth Jarvis at 9, and Matvei Michkov rounds out the top 10. So we'll get to the rest of this list in just a moment. Dave is now back and will return for us here. Oh, Dave, you good to go? If so, you can add yourself back onto the stage. If not,
I'm just trying to get my
all right, so Dave's a little bit of technical difficulties. We'll get Dave back on in just a moment. But for me, Matthew Knies coming at number 8. That's probably, somewhat of an appropriate ranking when you look at the guys who are above him. Granted, this ranking, I did read the stipulations, and it's somewhat of a projection. It looks as though they projected over the next couple of seasons what these players would become. So Matthew Knies, when you look at this list, I think it's very conceivable that this is right about where he would end up in the next couple of years. Could he move up a spot or two? Maybe. But I think as a top 8 player, considering he's a second-round pick, a couple of years ago, the fact that now at 22 years old, 23 years old, he's still considered a top 8 forward among all 25 and under players is still an accomplishment for him. And still, a tip of the cap to the Maple Leafs for drafting this player and getting this much value out of him. So good on Matthew Knies. And now that he's going to have, I believe, a bigger role this season, he's going to be up on the top line for good with Austin Matthews. He'll be on the top power play unit for the whole season, unlike he was last year. Like, he had a 57-point year last season, and that was 29 goals, 57 points. And, that was really, he was kind of bounced all over the lineup early in the season, eventually settled on the top line and fit pretty well, fit like a glove up there. And then he eventually made his way onto the first power play unit, and that's really where I think the points started to pile up. He started to get those power play cookies, and that's where the points and goals kind of started to come for Matthew Knies. But now that he's going to be on the top line full time and on the first unit power play full time, I expect for his second season or his third season in the NHL to be even better. So there's a possibility where Knies next year will still be eligible for this list, could kind of trend in the upward direction. But I think as of right now, it's a solid list, and there's some really good, young, talented players. But I think he's probably appropriately rated here at number 8. What do you think, Dave?
I agree. Like, who can you realistically see him leapfrogging? Like, who are you moving down to make room for him? That's always my thing with these lists.
Yeah.
Like,
the player,
great player.
Yeah.
Stützle, I know I know Sens guy, we got to hate him, but he's really good, right? Like, the guy scored 100 points in the NHL.
Yeah.
Jack
Cole
Hughes.
Caulfield. Do you think Cole Caulfield is undisputedly a better player?
I think they're comparable.
Yeah.
I think Cole Caulfield, The potential for him is maybe a little higher in terms of people believe he's got another
Goal scoring
year.
ability, right?
Yeah, but I think Matthew Knies is the more complete player,
Mhm.
right? And I think like that's why certain players get a little higher on these lists. But I would say, like we talked about Connor Bedard, he's a great player too. He hasn't exactly put up the production, so
I still think he's quite low on this list, though.
I think he should be above Caulfield though. Like Cole Caulfield's not the top. Like if we're talking about the Canadians, he's not the top forward with the Canadians. He's not the Connor Bedard of his team. Like even I'm kind of like I think if you ask some Canadians fans, Demidov is a guy that's gonna probably push above Cole Caulfield potentially at some point in
Maybe.
Montreal, right? Yeah, I do think like I think people look at Connor Bedard and they're disappointed what they've seen from him, but that's not a Connor Bedard problem. That's he plays for a very bad team.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the support, right?
Yeah.
Like even I think Macklin Celebrini should probably
I'd have
go
him
higher too.
Yeah.
Like he's great.
I was talking about this on the Locked On NHL podcast with Ross. We were dissecting this list as a whole, and obviously, him being Ottawa Locked On Sens guy, he was very much in favor of Tim Stützle being locked in as the number one, and thought that this was the correct ranking. I promptly told him that he's high off his rocker, and that is incorrect. I would not have Tim Stützle in my top. I think I said I would have him at my 5th spot, I think, if I were to do this, because I'm not sure if you heard what I had to say earlier when you were experiencing your connection issues, but this is a bit of a projection. Like in the write-up, it does explicitly say that they're, looking at them expressing how much of a difference makers they can be over the next few seasons. So it's a bit of a projection in a way. And if we're projecting all of these players, I do project Bedard to turn out to still be an absolute superstar. I do project Celebrini to be a stud top line center in this league. So if I were to do it today and I had to do this my list myself, I still would have Jack Hughes at number one because I think the durability is definitely a question, but the skill level I think is there for him to be an absolute stud in this league. So I think I'd have Jack Hughes, Macklin Celebrini, then Bedard, and then Wyatt Johnston at 4. And then I think I'd have Tim Stützle, Matt Boldy, and probably Matthew Knies at that point. And then Cole Caulfield at 8. Sure, you can put the other two there at 9, 10. Doesn't really bother me. But that's probably how I would have done my list if I were to do it myself personally. Bedsy and Celebrini, those two are going to be faces of the league for many years to come. I think they should have been a little higher on this list if it's a projection for a few years down the line. Not necessarily next season, but a few years down the line.
Well, and here's I should have probably corrected myself. Like Stützle's never reached 100 points. He's at 90 is his high, and then he's had 70 and 79. The only thing that keeps Jack Hughes from being a consistent 100-point player is his health, right?
He's only played 76% of his possible NHL games so far in his career. Only 76%.
Right? And at his best, Jack Hughes can be even a Hart Trophy.
Top 5 player, top 5 player in the league.
So I do think that he would probably, he would definitely be number one on my list. I do think Matt Boldy is a little also just, high for me. Like, Macklin Celebrini, I don't think people really truly understand how good of a season Macklin Celebrini had.
Yeah, me either.
Playing for a team that wasn't good. And also,
it's just as garbage as Chicago. He made it work, though. He made it work. I kept saying that to people all season. Whenever you talk about Chicago, like, well, Bedard, like, who's he playing with? Who's Celebrini playing with? No one. Yeah. He's elevating his players. That's the difference. That's what's making it, so amazing. And where Bedard, it's like, he's trying to do it all by himself, and he can't, right? It's not the WHL anymore. And, they didn't get him any help this offseason either. So how it's going to play out in year 3, not exactly sure. But I like the Celebrini kid. That's why I'd have him at number 2 and Bedard at 3.
It's just also one of those things where I even with Matthew Knies, like people will think if he's rated higher, it's because he's a Leaf guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then some people are going to say, yeah, but they ranked lower because they don't want to give too much hype towards a Leafs guy either. Like it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Well, you
in
think
some
Cole
cases.
Caulfield would be in the exact same boat as a Montreal Canadiens prospect, but
Yeah. No, I
I
agree.
get it. He scored like 30 something goals last year. Like he had a great season last year. Don't get me wrong, but just when we talk about being a complete player, I think what Nye showed not only throughout the season but more so in the playoffs prior to the injury. He's one of the best players on the Maple Leafs roster. That's a pretty good team. There's some great players there, and he showed up and showed out, and proved to be a bit of a problem when he was healthy. So, yeah, either way, the Maple Leafs have a stud. Now, whether he's 8th, 6th, 7th, wherever he ends up landing on this list, the Leafs have a stud young player locked up long term, and Leaf fans should be pretty excited about the prospect of what Matthew Knies will be able to do for the next 6 seasons with the Buds. All right, Dave, I think we'll leave it there. Yeah, we'll leave it there. That'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all podcasting platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We're back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. The Maple Leafs, could they be in talks for a trade for a top tier defenseman? We'll talk about those rumors on tomorrow's show. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.